Breaker Shadow, the internet personality with the best hair. And this has been on the back burner for way too long. And at this point, it's review the movie or get off the pot. Scream 4, the fourth movie in the Scream franchise, notable for breaking that whole trilogy thing they established in the third movie. But that's not to say that there was no care put in this project at all. This was still directed by Wes Craven, and one of the reasons it took 11 years between Scream 3 and 4 to even happen wasn't because of the trilogy thing, but because Wes refused to do a Scream 4 if the script didn't do the series justice. Which brings us to Scream 4. What's the kind of movie we're poking fun at this time? Remakes! Despite that, Scream 4 is not a remake of Scream, but still a sequel, following Sidney Prescott as she returns to Woodsborough, only to find herself entangled in a series of murders that are all strangely familiar. So, let's take a look at Scream 4, so I can get started on the copyright dispute process and hope it doesn't take a few months. We open up to the phone ringing. Sherry, played by Lucy Hale, doesn't think much of the voice on the other end, but her friend Trudy, played by Shanae Grimes-Beach, is more concerned with her little Facebook stalker that won't leave her alone. But hey, she can deal with his creepiness now and again because at least he's got a hot bod.
That's Channing Tatum.
It is not. Is it?
Yeah, from his Abercrombie days.
Stalking, death threats, and catfishing! This guy is the worst. Anyway, the voice calls back, threatens their lives, as you do, and when they hang up, Facebook man says they should answer the phone!
Where are you going? To make sure the front door is locked.
Or maybe make sure you have a weapon available. Now, who am I kidding? These two are more likely to go out in the dark to investigate a strange noise like, "Hello? Is anyone there? This isn't funny. I'm not wearing anything but a towel and stiletto heels." Sherry's like, "This is all just a stupid joke. So to prove it, I'll unlock the door and head out to check." But there's no one there. That's because Ghostface is inside, killing Trudy, and outside, killing Sherry.
Fucking kidding me.
What?
That was so fucking stupid. Pure horseshit. The death of horror right here in front of us.
Ah, come on now. It wasn't amazingly creative, but the gore effects were all right. This would be Rachel, played by Anna Paquin, lamenting how predictable the slasher genre has become to her friend Chloe, played by Kristen Bell. Chloe points out that the stab movies are still scary because having a human, a friend, be the killer makes it far more believable. Rachel still finds them derivative, though.
You can see everything coming.
Did that surprise you?
Not really. We opened up on a fake-out. You could have Peter Griffin burst in the door fighting the giant chicken, and I wouldn't find it that out of place. And this was just the opening sequence to Stab 7 on top of it. So this pair of young blondes would be Marnie, played by Britt Robertson, and Jenny, played by Amy Teagarden. Marnie thinks this is poorly written crap and questions Jenny as to the Stab movies being based on true stories. Being the horror buff, Jenny explains that the first 3 Stab movies were based on true stories, but Sydney threatened to sue if they used her likeness past that, so they just started making shit up.
Stab 5 has time travel, which is by far the worst.
Oh, come on, what about the Stab TV series where the killer wears a clown mask and goes around stabbing people with a screwdriver? No time to dwell, strange noises alert Jenny, who disappears into the upstairs before Marnie gets a call on the phone.
This is the last person you're ever gonna see alive.
Ow, Woodsborough. Friends always talking about gutting you like a fish.
I don't see why you get off on this.
Marnie?
Okay, we're 7 minutes into this movie and have had 3 fake-outs so far, so this shit better be real. Heading down, Marnie is nowhere to be found. Only her phone, with a weird guy on the other end going all Ghostface on her.
Is this Trevor?
Do I sound like a Trevor to you?
Yeah, a little. The answer as to what exactly is going on gets cleared up right quick and once Marnie shows back up again.
Marnie?
Hey, Marnie. You okay? No, she's dead! And Ghostface is here to make sure Jenny dies as well, chasing her down and stabbing her back, giving him plenty of time to do the slow slasher walk towards his helpless victim. Oh, thank God. For a second, I thought I was going to say Stab 8, and then the 8 falls on its side, and it's Stab Infinity. Honestly, it still doesn't feel quite right. The opening music, for instance.
Something's right,
Something to Die For by the Sounds. It's not bad, mind you, but yeah, it is noticeable that this is the only Scream movie that does not use Red Right Hand. Anyway, we're back with Sidney Prescott, still played by Neve Campbell. She's on a book tour with her publicist, Rebecca Walters, played by Alison Brie. We spent a damn long time on those three openings, though, so let's move on right away to Dewey and Gale, again played by David Arquette and Courtney Cox, respectively. Okay, that's all the returning faces out of the way, but we need to hurry up and show the new characters we're actually going to spend time getting to know in this movie. Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere, her friend, Sidney's cousin, Jill Roberts, played by Emma Roberts, and their friend, Olivia, played by Marielle Jaffe. Seems that everyone got a call from Jill's ex, Trevor, wanting to check up on Jill.
He's worried your cousin coming to Woodsborough is distracting you from knowing how sorry he really is.
Well, that's inventive.
And it seems his chances of patching things up aren't really looking that hot. Unless this movie does open up to adding the idea of time travel to the formula. Other than Trevor, though, the other big news of the day is Jill's cousin, Sidney. This is their last stop on her book tour, and yeah, lots of people seem to die around her, so moving on, Jill gets a mysterious call from Jenny. Or not Jenny.
Who is this?
I asked you a question. What's your favorite scary movie?
Since you asked, Terrifier 2 is pretty fucking awesome. Olivia says she got a call just like that earlier today. From Marnie. Anyway, that's nice, but we've got more characters to introduce, like Sheriff Dewey's new deputy, Judy Hicks, played by Marley Shelton. Judy's really helpful and affectionate, and she made lemon squares! Dewey can tell she's more than just friendly, but he remains committed to Gale and his job, being called to the Randall house. Later, first we gotta introduce more characters, like the film club geek Robbie Mercer, played by Eric Knudsen, and the film club president Charlie Walker, played by Rory Culkin. And yes, he is one of the brothers of the far more famous Culkin.
Completely unaware you exist.
But we still haven't gotten around to properly introducing Trevor, played by Nico Torella. Scaring them as a way to show he is a friend, he pleads for Jill's ear, but she shoots him down. He didn't just break up with her, he dumped her for a hot new thing, and she isn't going to forgive and forget such heinous transgressions. Shot down in clear view of Robbie's live stream.
What is your favorite scary movie, man?
I'll show you.
Jump scares in a low-quality head-mounted camera. Ooh! Paranormal Activity! But we don't have time for shaky cam and predictable startles. Not only do we have to get to Sidney's book signing, we've got to see Gale show up shortly before Dewey shows up, shortly before he tells everyone, surprise, we're conducting an investigation. A phone call came from this location. Dialing it up, it begins ringing in the trunk of a car outside the building.
Dewey, gonna need everyone to stay back.
Not now, Sid.
It's my rental.
Sidney's car. Rental, so don't judge her too harshly for the model. Or the smell. Or the smears of blood all over her posters and books in the trunk of the car.
How'd that get in there?
Thus, it's a crime scene. It's also around this time that the news breaks of the gruesome murders of Jenny and Marnie, and so Woodsborough springs into action. The news crews are trying to get the latest scoop, but Gale believes her expertise in helping to solve these crimes thrice before means she should help with the investigation. Only problem is, she ain't press anymore. She's just a private citizen, and Dewey's wife, which, the stoic officer points out, grants her no special privileges.
What, you're not gonna let me help you with this?
I can't.
All right, then I'm going rogue.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Gale Weathers knows. So she heads out to solve this mystery her damn self. But it seems that the important characters have decided to come down to the station, what with how 2 out of 3 received threatening phone calls. Gets them all together, along with Sidney, to hear that, thanks to the trunk full of blood, she's a material witness, can't leave town. Still, gonna have police surveillance, and we can meet Jill's mother, Sidney's aunt, Kate, played by Mary McDonnell.
I have scars too. No one ever asked me about my scars.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Roberts.
She means knife scars, Mom.
Oh.
Who doesn't seem all that concerned with the police and the murders and, whatever. I gotta deal with this takeout before The Price is Right comes on. Point is, they've got the place locked down tight. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is gonna sneak up on Sidney Prescott tonight. Trevor, though, he might manage to slip in and jump scare Jill in her bedroom. Same deal. Why don't you love me? And because you cheated on me. And oh, would you look at that? It's getting a bit crowded in here. I'll just let myself out through the window.
What?
Nothing, you remind me of, me.
Red flags everywhere, but weirdly oblivious. Speaking of red flags, after already barging in as Dewey's right-hand lady for this movie, Judy creepily stalks around the shadows, crazy eyes and all, talking about how she and Sidney have history. Back in school, she remembers the play they did. Maybe even the smell of her shampoo.
Oh, it's nice to see you again, Judy. You too.
That has to be one of the reddest herrings I ever laid eyes on. Anyway, she leaves and the night continues on without much fanfare. Olivia shows up, living next door and all, but she's a bit apprehensive about being in the same house as Sidney Prescott, the angel of death, as she calls her, so opts to just go home instead. However, before long, Trevor calls up, but is actually the voice, taunting Kirby and Jill, saying he's hiding in the closet. Which, of course, Kirby checks, finding no Ghostface.
I never said I was in your closet.
He just generally hides in random closets, just in case. Really lucked out tonight that Olivia happened to change her plans and go home, putting her right in the way of his knife. How convenient. As Ghostface gruesomely stabs her to death. And that reminds me, remember that little problem in Scream 3, the lack of gore? Well, when Sidney runs next door, too late to help Olivia, we see they sure saw that one this time around.
Jill, stay right there. Do not look, okay?
Much as I love a beautiful young lady with her intestines hanging out, YouTube censors might get a little pissy about it. And Ghostface attacks again, cutting Jill's arm and going for Sidney. Nothing he can't solve with a good old-fashioned boot to the head. But when the police arrive, Ghostface takes the opportunity to disappear while he was just out of frame.
What happened? Oh my god, Jill.
But Trevor just so happened to be in the neighborhood just in time for the spooky music. Yeah, I'm really suspicious now. And with potential killers showing up in the nick of time, guess what? I did it. I did it all. Why, you ask? To get you to like this video and subscribe. Now, I am actually wondering, who do I gotta kill to get the algorithm to work again? The two officers on lookout, Hoss, played by Adam Brody, and Perkins, played by Anthony Anderson, unfortunately were unable to locate the killer, as slasher villain object permanence just isn't a thing in this genre. Still, Robbie and Charlie are here to film all the carnage, filling the viewers in on every grisly detail, up until Gail shows up and wants to ask them something off the record.
What if we could catch the killer by working together? 2 generations of cutting-edge journalists intertwining our passions for media.
Cool, yeah, I like it, but how are we supposed to catch the killer by filming the stepmom genre? In exchange for their help itemizing every gorehound at Woodsborough High, Gail offers herself as a celebrity guest. But Charlie's like, you know what? Sidney would be far more impressive. She's got that real name recognition and the body count that follows her everywhere. That's what audiences want, and doesn't Rebecca know it? Ever since the body count started rising, her brand has just taken off. She's got interviews out the ass, and a deal for 3 more books where she can name her own price. Rebecca says it's clear, being a victim is a goddamn goldmine and she should dig in. At which point Sidney fires her ass. She takes it pretty well, but the camera remains on her as she performs the mundane task of heading to the parking garage. So it should come as no surprise that Ghostface calls her up. Fleeing in terror, she finds her car won't start. But this is a smart horror movie, so we actually point out a reason for that. Ghostface tore out the wiring, so she must run, fleeing to the hospital door. Though I don't think they established a reason for the doorknob to break off so easily. I guess she just went She-Hulk all of a sudden. Which does explain the stabbing.
We are very close to bringing this whole situation under control.
And And then Ghostface just runs over to a window and chucks her out. Hey, I do the same thing in Hitman. Seeing this, Gale takes the time to chastise Dewey as he oozes incompetence. She's got real work to do to save this town. Heading down to the cinema club at the school. This is where we get our rundown of the new rules for this movie. We're talking horror remakes here, so Charlie says, first of all, the killer needs to be filming the murders as it is the natural progression in slasher POV shots. Lean into subversions of expectations, have a more bombastic opening, and more extreme kills, and of course, practically no one is safe.
The only surefire way to survive a modern horror movie, you pretty much have to be gay.
Tell that to the new Hellraiser. Or, well, I guess you're half right. They're certain this is the killer's MO too, because so far, the scenes match up pretty well with the original Stab. 2 kids in the opening, then the hot girl, so the next big scene is at a party! The biggest party anyone can think of would be Stabathon, the yearly celebration for the Stab franchise tonight. But the film geeks aren't forthcoming with its location, so she ain't getting in. But you know who is? Kirby! And Trevor, he's there too.
Hey, Kirby.
What is he doing there? That is so not his scene.
I have no idea. Maybe he thought you would be here.
You gotta keep your red herrings nearby. Dangle them in front of the audience like keys. But Gale followed her to the party as well. Donning a Ghostface mask so she may slip through undetected, she sets up her handy-dandy wireless cameras all over the place before returning to her car, ready to get in some hardcore investigative journalism. However, before long, someone begins to block each and every camera feed. So she quickly calls Dewey up like, hey, hun, kind of snuck over to that Stabathon. Seems dangerous, you might want to come. So, heading back to check, she discovers another camera that is recording her. Because Ghostface attacks! Wounding Gale! Very safely right on her shoulder. As you know, it's dark, and those peanut eyes on the mask really don't help. On the plus side, this does mean that Dewey showed up fast enough to scare him off, and Gale's got enough strength left in her to tell him that the killer was recording her. The killer is making the movie themselves. On that note, let's see how the police are doing. Chatting about how police pretty much never survive these movies. Oh well, they got a job to do, and as such, Ghostface attacks, stabbing Hoss in the back before jamming the knife right into Perkins' forehead. Which means there's no one left to keep Sydney safe, as the voice calls her up for some good old-fashioned taunting.
What good's it to be a survivor in this little drama if everyone close to you is dead?
Because you survived. I mean, you can make new friends, I'm just saying. When the voice says that it's really family ties that cut deep, Sydney springs into action. He must be trying to hurt Jill. But where could she be? An instant message clues her in that Kirby came and picked her up. Even worse, she isn't picking up her phone. But even worse than that, Ghostface is waiting outside. So Sydney and Kate fight to keep the door closed. But when Sid tries to run for the back, Kate isn't moving. God damn, those Amazon delivery drivers are getting mean. Rushing for the back door, Sydney runs right into Deputy Hicks, bringing her into the scene like, yeah, that's a dead body. Sid vanishes while out of frame, hopping in her car and heading to Kirby's, where it seems they're having a bit of an impromptu Stabathon after the party. Stabathon got a bit canceled after Dewey showed up and started shooting, but it's not all bad. They can just relax, watch some more Stab movies, and enjoy the night. Robbie, however, thinks they're taking this a bit too well.
The cops are gonna come for us. They're gonna shut down my website. We're so dead.
Yeah, I agree.
Jesus Christ, where'd you come from?
The front door?
But Trevor is here as well. He's hanging out in the background, reminding everyone that every time he shows up, that spooky music cue plays. Trevor says he's here because Jill sent him a message inviting him to the afterparty. She denies it, but can't seem to find her phone. Takes a while, too. Long enough for Robbie to get nice and hammered, toying with his little head-mounted camera, and even for Charlie and Kirby to actually hit it off. Only for that damn Trevor to just barge in and kill the mood, talking way too loud over the movie.
Ghostface comes in and bang! Did I just interrupt something right here?
I mean, kinda, yeah. You usually don't get so much dialogue. I was starting to think you were a glorified extra. Not to worry, Kirby shouts at him until he goes upstairs, and we can get back to watching Robbie walk around, performing mundane tasks that don't... Oh, Wait. Oh, looks like Ghostface has showed up and goes in for the kill. But what's this?
You can't, there's rules. I'm gay. I mean, if it helps.
It was a 50-50 shot, can't blame him for trying. Anyway, Jill's all like, hey, found my phone, never texted Trevor, how about that? But what's this? Sydney has shown up out of the blue to bring Jill home. Except that Robbie shows up to die horribly as Ghostface is outside, so he must run. Jesus, Sydney's got the leg power of a Saiyan. Hiding in a bedroom, the only way out is to jump off the balcony. So, Sydney tells Jill to hide while she heads out to the rooftop and pretends like she's helping Jill run for her life. That gives her enough time to call Dewey and be like, hey, killers at Kirby's might want to come down here shortly before Ghostface attacks. No bother, Sid can get away in time, then run back inside and right into Kirby. Hiding downstairs, they spot Charlie outside. He swears he needs help, but he is covered in blood. Sydney doesn't trust him, but then Ghostface attacks, tying Charlie up much like the boyfriend in the first scene in Scream, and the voice calls up. Sydney's like, neat, keep him talking, I'm gonna get Jill. And this is an awful lot like that scene in the original movie. Horror trivia! Only thing is, Kirby is a super horror geek and passes the killer's quiz with flying colors, giving her the chance to free Charlie.
Kirby, this is making a move. 4 years of classes together, and you notice me now?
But what's this? The film geek was the killer all along! Man, what a subversion of expectations! Which I kinda saw coming a mile away. But as you know, there's always two killers. I don't care what anyone says about Scream 3. And who would the second killer be? Why, it's the one, the only, the painfully obvious.
Hello, Sydney.
Sydney's cousin, Jill! Central to everything, living in Sydney's shadow being her main defining character trait. The one time Ghostface attacked her earlier, it was a very minor cut on her arm. Of course it was Jill all along. And of course it was Charlie, a film buff, looking to create his magnum opus. And like how Randy had the hots for Sydney, Charlie did it all for Jill. Oh, and what about Trevor? Well, he's the handy-dandy scapegoat, Mr. Prescott style. Put it all on him, because after all, Jill really didn't like him cheating on her, blasting his balls off before blowing his brains out. Well, that just means it's time to set things up like Billy and Stu, leaving Jill and Charlie as the heroic, wounded survivors.
Shoulder me, get up!
But hey, what a surprise! The girl who had no problem killing her old boyfriend also has no problem killing her new boyfriend. Man, the twists just keep coming.
But the media really loves Baby. As a sole survivor.
Well, that and when a politician's nudes get on the internet. Media can't get enough of that shit. So she frames Charlie to have been the killer all along, but with Trevor as his partner. They were the killers, but now they're gone, and Jill explains to Sid that with Sydney out of the way, Jill can bask in the glow of victimhood, the pure adoration of all the world for being the greatest victim of them all.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Go to college, grad school, work?
You know, when she puts it like that...
You don't have to achieve anything. You just gotta have fucked up shit happen to you.
No, that does not help. Her villain rant out of the way, she stabs Sydney in the gut. Okay, good enough. No reason to make sure she's completely dead after that. Besides, we gotta set up Jill's wounds for the final battle. So, one scratch here, a handful of hair there, and a little stab in the shoulder should do. Needs more. Okay, smash your face into the picture frame and slam yourself down to the glass table. There, that should do it. Now to collapse near your oh-so-surely dead cousin, so as to be showered with media praise. The lone survivor of such a harrowing tragedy. But don't worry, Dewey's here for her, and Gail's doing fine.
If I ever write a book one day, I'd want her to write it with me. We'd be a good team with our matching wounds and all.
My time at Woodsborough, and how my shoulder got so fucked up. Dewey also shares the surprising and even better news that, hey, your cousin is also holding on. Sydney, yeah, she's hurt, but man, she dies hard. Wonder why Ghostface thought a little gut poke would be enough. Anyway, toodles! So Jill springs into action, leaping out of her hospital bed on a mission. for murder. But the super sleuth Gale is on the case like, hey, how'd she know I was stabbed in the shoulder? Shit! Man, Dewey's really been getting in the cardio all movie. Not sure how Jill plans to keep her secret safe after this, but she is here to murder Sydney! Again! Beating the crap out of her until Dewey rushes in to save the day, only to be beaten over the head with a bedpan. Taking his gun, she's more than prepared to hold Gale up at gunpoint.
What about the book? Looks like I'll just have to write it myself. God damn it! Oh!
But Hicks dives in, saving Gale in the nick of time, because she realizes, hey, she might have the hots for Dewey, but still, murder is kinda not the way you should go about achieving your life's goals. But now we got the good old-fashioned hold-up. Jill demands Judy's gun. Judy's like, all right, here you go. And Jill shoots Judy. Then it's all eyes on Gale. Just too bad, because that means Jill doesn't notice Sydney with the defibrillator frying her brain. Therefore, happy ending. Dewey is alive, as is Jill, until they shoot her, which actually didn't work against Judy because, hey, bulletproof vests exist. And now that everything is over, the news crew is lined up awaiting their first interview with the heroic sole survivor of the latest Woodsborough massacre, Jill Roberts.
Jill Roberts of Woodsborough, a girl who's lifted all our spirits tonight, an American hero, right out of the movies.
Man, professional journalists really are the last to know. Anyway, that was Scream 4. I liked it better than Scream 3. As far as horror comedies go, the Scream series is clearly horror first, and as this entry was still directed by Wes Craven, that hasn't changed. Now, the only reason he didn't direct the latest one is because he passed away. And Scream 4 might break the most important rule of trilogies, that being they stop at 3, but it does correct a lot of the mistakes of the third movie along the way. While the setup is a bit samey, the meta-commentary about the idea of horror remakes does at least put it to good use. And, as an added bonus, the fact that it's a sequel and not actually a remake means we don't have to dismiss it as inferior to the original and therefore a total wash. A sequel can be inferior, but at least part of the conversation. My main issue is, of course, the mystery aspect, and I really feel like no Scream did it nearly as well as the first. It was more than a little obvious who the red herrings were, and through a process of elimination, who our most likely candidates for the killers would be. And that's before the movie lists its rules, zeroing in on the possible killers all the more. That gripe out of the way, though, Scream 4 is alright. The pacing of the opening was all over the place, but once we got past that, the movie only felt a bit slow, dragging out of the end for the fourth act, but it spent the time well regardless. The gore effects were on point, and the thread of horror that carried throughout the movie definitely did its job. At the end of the day, I've kind of seen this before, but that's kind of the point. That being the point doesn't change the fact that I've kind of seen this all before, but this is good, which is why I'm always interested in seeing more of it. Coming in at 4, defibrillators to the dome! Out of 5. Could have been better, but it's by no means bad, or merely average. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shadow, and remember, sometimes you just have to accept you're gonna need to fight a copyright strike.
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
They don't. They really don't.
Thank you, sir.
So, did you like the video yet? Or subscribe? Or did I just kill all these motherfuckers for you to not do at least a comment for engagement? Or maybe you could follow me on my socials? Facebook? I'm sadly addicted to Twitter. Ooh, I know. You're not here for any of that crap. You're here for movie reviews. You want some movie reviews? All right, how about all the rest of the Scream movies that I've reviewed so far? Or, if that's not your jam, the algorithmically selected recommended video. What's your favorite movie review?